You want a piece of me, boy?
Nuclear launch detected.
Welcome back, guys, to Starcraft 2 Nation Wars. France is about to play. The winners of Nation Wars 3 are actually going to start their Nation Wars 4 run. Will Vietnam be able to take out France? Is this possible?
Well, first of all...
Is the dream alive?
There we go.
Yeah.
I don't know. France is the winners of last year, and they still have a pretty solid lineup. Vietnam, I don't think we know a single person. Justice Simon, Hunter XX, and Mio Mika. Don't recognize those names at all, but that was kind of the same case as South Korea versus Croatia, and look what happened.
Yeah. So
attack happened.
We shouldn't be yelling like those guys are doing right now.
I don't know what they're yelling about.
We could be super sad in an hour from now. The Dio Gaming Studio would shut down, like no lights anywhere to be seen. No, as you mentioned, some stuff can happen. Like we've seen it with Croatia, a really great performance by Ptak back then. I don't know if Vietnam can do the same. I think it was like kind of hard for them to figure out which players could be inside the team. I think actually the third player actually went on a run to get qualified for Grandmasters League on NA super fast just beforehand, because there was a guy on Twitter the instant we announced Nation Wars, like, I want Vietnam to participate. So we actually gathered all the players, figured out how many were GM already, and then told the other guy, I don't know which one it is in the lineup, to get that GM status so he could register for it. So now they've got a team, but also they have to play against one of the strongest teams of the tournament. Arguably, maybe not as good as last year, because like what Marine Lord did last year was just like out of this world.
Amazing, yeah.
So not anticipated at all. Like we knew that Marine Lord has it in him to go to the finals of big tournaments and do super well, but that's something that he really didn't achieve before. Like really, Nation Wars 4, I think for a lot of people was his breakout performance. Because of the way he did it and the ratio that he had towards the end, like 23 and 2, I think he finished with. Like, okay, I think you're not going to lose anything this time. And we have the starting lineup, the starting matchup. It's going to be Petit Drogo against Hunter XX.
Okay, so that's going to be a PVZ. And I guess Drogo is looking for that all kill, basically. I mean, again, Vietnam, not any players that I recognize. They have a great story, though. Like, Vietnam actually coming together to try and play in Nation Wars is always, pretty cool. And hopefully they get something, showcase at least their skill of the players. I don't think there's like actually no one I can think of that I know from Vietnam that actually plays. I mean, obviously I don't recognize the players here, but just like in general, I guess the same thing happened with Croatia, but even then I feel like I recognize like the tax name, for instance. I was like, I could like kind of think that I recognize that, but no, not at all for Vietnam. So if they can just show that they're actually like good players, and I'll just be like, oh, okay, like shit, Vietnam, way to go.
Yeah, way to go, Vietnam. Like I'm actually super psyched that they're in the tournament. There was they were the 32nd nation to be registered, fully registered with a proper lineup. So they're playing against France. I know they were a little bit sad about it when they heard about the draft for everything. They were like, that's not as cool as what we could have got. And actually, 33% of you guys think Vietnam can take it. So once again, Vietnam win for Vietnam and Fra win for France. 67 to 33%. We'll see about it. What's interesting to me is Petit Drogo. Petit Drogo wanted to be, I don't think he was like known enough for Nation Wars 2 to be in the team, but for Nation Wars 3, that was the main, like he actually felt kind of bad about it, right? Because he thought that he had his place in the team, and I think he did, but back then Stefano won the contest once again, because going against Stefano, it's a little hard. Going against Lilbo that made it to BlizzCon, that won Season 3, that was also kind of hard. People love Terrans in France, so obviously Marine Lord was in the lineup. So it was a contest between Petit Drogo and Stefano, and he lost back then. This time, he's in the team, and he wants to show that he has the skills to be here. Yeah. That he deserves to be here.
Yeah, I've been practicing very, very hard, so hopefully I'll have a good showing in this PVZ matchup. Of course, there's 2 Zergs and a Protoss on the Vietnam team, so if he's having trouble versus Terran, it's actually not a problem. I know some Protosses have, so no worries there. And I think he definitely, from what I remember, Drogo's kind of been out of the online tournament scene for a little while. I don't know if he just wanted to shy back, or I guess never been a huge tournament contender. But anyway, his PVZ, sometimes you get very frustrated. Back when Zergs were all-inning all the time. Like, oh, those Roach Ravager all-ins were... they're nasty. But I remember him being so good when he was on point, though. And his micro with the Warp Prism was so amazing. I hope he's back at that point.
I remember a clip of you guys actually going mental about Drogo's micro because those Immortals, like, they wouldn't die. Like, not a single unit died to a really huge push or huge swell of Roaches and Ravagers back then. So yeah, Drogo's micro can be super good, and at the same time, I think most of his breakout performances were against Zerg. I remember him qualifying for WCS for the first time in 2015 was against Snoot in a huge qualifier back then. I don't remember exactly the format, but the last game, the qualifying game, was against Snoot. And back then, he was able to just pick him apart with great Blinkstalker micro and all-out aggression. You know, the baguette PVZ that we used to call back then, with the Blinkstalkers and a lot of sentries. That's something that he's always been good at, and it transitioned into Legacy of the Void quite well, because even in BlizzCon he was able to take out Snoot in the losers match, eliminating Snoot from BlizzCon. That was something a little bit hard to see because Snoot took it really hard, but. I guess Drogo is just a great PvZ player in general, and for his first game ever in Nation Wars, I'm pretty sure that he wants to make a difference right there.
Yeah, that sounds so bizarre. Like, I mean, I know it's like, every year, and it's been a year since it, but damn. First game in Nation Wars.
All right. In the bottom left, and yes, I'm going to be introducing this guy, and I'm sorry for the bias that could come out of this best of 7, but representing France for his first game ever in Nation Wars. That's the first time that he gets it. The French casters are actually going crazy. He is the blue Protoss, Petit Drogo.
And in the top right for Vietnam, he is the red Zerg Hunter XX.
His first map, Overgrowth, pretty standard map. Those guys probably played it a million times. We'll see what kind of strategy we'll go for. Knowing Drogo, that's the kind of game you wanna be feeling comfortable. So I'm guessing a really standard opening, which would mean in PvZ these days the four gateway with the Prism and DTs into Arc and Drop. That's what I'm anticipating from Drogo.
Yeah, that has become the standard in the matchup, and certainly Overgrowth being one of the standard maps, safe map. I do anticipate that as well. I mean, it's more about what follows the 2 base. Does it take to a third? Does he do kind of that fake third thing? Or does he actually play a macro game and really just shake off the rust? It's pretty exciting to see him, I guess, his first match in Nation Wars, but Drogo, of course, is a name that's just so recognizable over the last year and a half, really, but he's just been so good, and I do actually have faith in him. He's been practicing a lot, which I heard that he is, to all-kill Vietnam, of course, but then go on and maybe get further all-kills in Nation Wars.
Yeah, we interviewed him quite like a couple of days ago, and he actually truly believes that the French lineup is one of the best there is for this Nation Wars. I guess that's just like good communication, just saying that he has a lot of faith in the lineup, but that also means, and those guys have been known to say what they think, and if they believe that Stefano is not on point, they will say it. There's been a lot of trolling between Marine Lord and Stefano, like Marine Lord saying, "Oh, we play Vietnam, so maybe you'll get your first win ever in Nation Wars." That's what they used to say to each other in Nation Wars. But actually, Drogo thinks that Stefano, which is the biggest interrogation mark, I guess, in the French lineup, like, he thinks that he's playing well these days, and he's been practicing quite a bit ever since he qualified to WESG. Stefano likes money. And he likes winning. So when he has a really great opportunity to show his skills and also make money, that's when he will really put the training in.
Yeah, I heard that he was actually doing quite well, and on the ladder he's actually quite high. But this is interesting. So first of all, 4 lanes going to get in here. They could go to the main base and see that something is different, of course, than the regular DT openers that we've been seeing from everyone else. Lings, unfortunately, do not. They went for a couple of probes, kind of a greedy move to do that. Instead, they could have gotten some scouting.
Yeah.
I guess Overlord speed is on the way, but that's actually, I mean, it's like a super latest Overlord speed, but it's not quite going to see that it's going to be resonating glaives right off the bats, unless he sends the, I guess he could send the slow Overlord in.
But the Twilight is actually at the back of the main base, so it should be a little bit hard to figure out before Overload Speed is not going to go for it, so it's going to wait a little bit. And we mentioned we were anticipating the Archon drop is going to be straight to Resonating Glaive. Probably just wants to finish it as quick as possible, or at least dealing a lot of damage to Hunter XX economy at the beginning of the game. That drop will scout that it's Resonating Glaive, but at the same time, Adepts with Resonating Glaive, they do super well against Zerglings.
Yeah, I mean, this should not do a lot of damage. It's also not catching Drogo while he's like moving out, for instance, and it's actually catching him right as his warp gate's finished. So instantly, warp-ins go into that main base. So 1 probe, 2 probes have been killed here. Of course, the real threat is like the second and third time as the Link survive and go back, and then Overlord not going for Stalkers, not going for a Stargate opener, can't actually take care of the Overlords. And because he warped in at home, he has 3 less to actually send out across the map. But now my question is, does Hunter XX have anything to defend against his Adepts going to his third?
Yeah, I didn't see that many Zerglings going through the production time, and actually this is only drones, so those 3 Adepts with Resonating Glaive are going to be able to just push out all those drones from the third base, maybe going to get the Queen. Yeah, that Queen is definitely going down, and those Zerglings coming out from those X here will get destroyed, will get picked off instantly by Drogo.
Yeah. 22 Lings in total should be able to take care of things, but that was damage he wasn't supposed to take. That was lost mining time he wasn't really supposed to take. He just... We got caught up, I think, a little bit in his own harassment, forgot that Adepts could be coming across the map. I'm not sure if he saw the third base yet either, because, of course, now that he has around 30, 40 Lings, okay, he does see it, he could go for the counterattack. And there's only 1 pylon, but I think there should be enough Adepts as long as Drogo doesn't get them caught out in position. They're a little disjointed right now. This is where a lot of Lings could surround them and still do decently, but +1 isn't quite done. 6 Banelings should be enough in total here, but it is about that split.
Yeah, he shaded in offensively, so he's going to go towards the main to avoid that surround, and those Adepts are actually going to deal a lot of damage, and at the same time, the 3 Adept hit squad actually getting some more drones on the third base, and now actually trading super well against those Zerglings, and even Banelings have to go and defend that push, so great opening by Drogo, just pushing all the army towards the main, actually shedding into the natural and getting some more economy for himself. Drogo just playing perfectly on this sequence and not losing that much back at home against that drop. Only a Stalker that was a little bit out of position, but of course loving Drogo's position on this one.
Yeah, Drogo with that split on the Adepts really did a lot more damage than he was... not like supposed to. Usually if Adepts shade in, they're going to get some drones, but I do think that Hunter could have had a better split. He finds a couple of sentries, though, and forces even bother going down. All the sentries die. The Mothership Core is back in the main base, so it is just about the... Oh, he's actually going to recall his Mothership over here with only a couple of units to help out. I mean, she doesn't have enough for an overcharge. It's only 2 Stalkers and an Adept, and those Lings do have +1. So they're going to try and take on a couple more units.
No Zealot in the wall. Can he go inside the main? No, the Warping comes in, but it's going to be 2 dead Stalkers, and actually getting a little bit more damage than anticipated with only Zerglings. Remember, those Zerglings have +1, and there's not that many Adepts right there, so he needs to be careful. Losing those 2 sentries, well, it was a little bit painful for Drogo.
Yeah, losing all those sentries was painful, but I don't know about Hunter X continuing the aggression. I mean, he's only at 41 drones. I guess he's going to try and bust him here, but I think that Drogo only needed like 30 seconds, and then he would, he's going to warp in. He actually has all his gateways now. That's all the time he needed, and the time for, the momentum has passed. Hunter XX just needs to get unsupply blocks, first of all, but then also just needs to get up to the 60 drones. Oh, just completely fall behind. I mean, he already has fallen behind.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see the income in the bottom right for a couple of seconds. 2K600 a minute for Drogo against the 1800 for Hunter XX. And yeah, you mentioned it. There's just not that many drones for our Vietnamese player. He's actually just gonna go now for that new swell of drones. 12 more drones in the production tab, 53. But look at the income advantage. Like, this is a PVZ, and the blue line is actually telling you that the Protoss is way out mining his opponent. That's not a good place to be as a Zerg player.
Yeah, I do like the aggression from our Zerg player, but I just don't think it was backed up quite enough by droning. So even though he might have an okay looking force, I mean, he's got Baneling, he's got Rougers, he might even have Baneling speed, the numbers are there for Drogo. Even if he does get his army collapsed in on and killed, I think he's be able to reinforce it, no problem.
Yeah, he needs to be careful a little bit, because he invested so much gas, Hunter XX that is, in those Banelings, that if he gets a proper connection, that could be terrible. 3 Ravagers only to get those force fields crushed with the corrosive bile, but at the moment it's just not happening. Once again, triple force field maybe, and a pre-split by Drogo. Perfect execution right there, even if he had the speed Baneling with the +10 HP that comes with it now. It's not making a difference. He's going to lose that third hatchery, and with this, probably the game.
Yep. I remember this overgrowth problem a lot back when World Century was really popular. But of course, the numbers would have been there anyways, and he did have enough force fields that even if Hunter XX was aggressive and caught him off guard, I think he would have had him down and safe enough to continue winning this game. But killing the third base, chasing after the army, I mean, Zerg is definitely dead here, but he's going to try and hold on with the last remaining speed banelings.
Yeah, it's got a couple of them. Now some Archons are going to join the fray, drop that Dark Shrine a little bit in the back, Drogo that is, to get those Archons going, which are obviously the best units there is against Banelings. We've seen it against Newt during BlizzCon with that infamous game that lasted for an hour with nothing but Banelings and Ravagers against mass Archon from Drogo, who's going to shade in some more depths towards the main. Nice trade by Hunter XX with those couple of Banelings taking out 4 deaths, but 2 are still remaining in the main, getting some damage done. 3 actually probably gonna get that queen, and still the numbers you were mentioning. Drogo is 147 supply against 7 chase. And even those connections are not gonna be enough.
Yeah, just took the Stalker straight to the face. Now rolling the Archons, which is a little less effective, but yeah, the numbers don't lie here. Corrosive Bile's even being eaten by Drogo. He doesn't care anymore. He's just going to push in and take down that hatchery. GG.
GG, well played. He's getting cold, and France take the first point. Takes to Drogo, who's just getting his first victory ever in Nation War, so kudos to him. Now the question is, can he do the all kill? That's something, of course, we have to anticipate, considering the skill difference between those two teams.
Yeah, I think Drogo is also looking like anything less than an all kill for him is probably not satisfactory, especially with such a good opportunity to just have an explosive performance for his first Nation War. So the other 2 players for Vietnam, Justice Simon and Mio Micah, that's going to be a hard one to say during the game. I don't actually look forward to that. It's a Zerg and a Protoss player. We'll see who they're going to send out next. Again, just no idea about these players. And Drogo, I'm sure. Like, that's the one thing they have on their side, is that Drogo also doesn't know how they play. They could do a bunch of cheeses and he just wouldn't have any idea. I kind of expect that, to be honest, from our last player, Hunter XX, but no, I went for the macro game. I like the Ling aggression, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was actually pretty cool, but the macro wasn't there behind it.
Yeah, he definitely just waited too long to get those extra drones going on for himself, and yeah, income-wise, there was just a game he couldn't win in the end between this Zerg player and Drogo, taking first game quite convincingly, no problem whatsoever. Now he will have to face either another Zerg player or a Protoss player. We'll see which one is going to get thrown out by Vietnam, but as you mentioned, the satisfaction for Drogo would come from an all kill, like making a stand, making a really huge statement towards everybody. Like, those lower teams, I guess, will be no match for us. Like, you need to bring out big guns to take us out.
Yeah, exactly. I think Drogo's just getting warmed up in terms of, well, this series, and also whoever he faces off tomorrow. It's going to be Mio Micah, so great. It's going to be great to say on the fly. I think you pronounced
it pretty well. Like, Mio Micah, that's good.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's probably something totally different, but...
So Mio Micah is actually the other Zerg player.
Yes.
So we'll see another PVZ. We don't know about the map yet, or maybe we've seen it and I didn't recognize it or didn't mention it. But I don't think the map matters. Like, I think Drogo, if he feels comfortable, if he wants to make that statement I mentioned earlier, he will go through any opponent on any map. Like, those guys are not supposed to be a match for them. It's going to be Habitation Station. So might be like an opportunity for a Zerg player to go for some weird-ass builds, like maybe like Hatchery on the Gold. And
I was going to say, like a Hatchery on the Gold or a Proxy Hatchery could be like really fun and really surprising for Drogo. And if he can do it, then I really wish he would. But there's only a couple of Zerg players who are that confident, even on ladder, to do something as weird as that.
Well, let's see about it. For his second time here on Habitation Station is the blue Protoss in the top left of the map. This is Petit Drogo.
In the top right, as the red Zerg for Vietnam, he is Mio Micah.
And he's not going to go for Hatchery first on the Gold, not for a Hatchery proxy. I'm already questioning the choice of build. Like, I feel like if you know exactly where you stand in terms of skill, that's kind of hard, because those guys obviously don't play each other that often. I guess like the Vietnamese player probably play on Korea. That would make sense to me. Like, they're not that far away from world server, I guess.
I think so, yeah.
So like, I don't know. Like sometimes it seems like it seems super close and then it's further away. Like I learned about like Australia towards Korea is actually longer than France to Korea. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about that. I was like, what? Like, are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Maynard? I was like, yeah. I'm telling you. So I don't know. I don't really know about the server status or anything. But what would make sense is that they practice a little bit on Korea. And they probably don't play a lot of online tournaments because of the server issues. So those guys probably never played each other. But I'm pretty sure that Mio Maika has to know that he's facing one of the best players
yeah.
in Europe. So maybe going for a weird strategy or an all-in would make more sense if you really truly want to win.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can make like Diamond or Masters without ever watching like a pro game. I think I've learned a couple of people that they've said at least that they've done that. But I don't think you can reach GM and participate in Nation Wars without at least knowing something about the scene. If you know anything about the scene, then you're going to know a name like Drogo. So
Yeah.
I think they actually probably would have studied him at least a little bit. It would have been really hard to say which player from France would have come first, but because all of them were going to be good possibilities. But they said at all of them, and maybe they see something. As I said before, at the start of this best of 7, Drogo did used to have just problems. He would actually get tilted, like just legitimately, and he would have a bad series after an all-in or 2 all-ins or 3 all-ins, especially when it came to Zerg. That would be a way for me to at least to get in his head a little bit, if not actually win the game. It's a very old-fashioned thing to do for Zerg nowadays, but it's still possible. It's actually a really quick lair.
That's the fastest lair I've ever seen on
230,
Legacy
I
of the
think?
Void, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. And I already like it. Like, whether it works or not, the fact that he's not going to go for straight-up macro, like 3 bases, Lings and Roaches, or Lings and Banelings, he's going to actually try for something different, makes me more comfortable. Something is... actually,
my
not
God.
scanning it. He needs to say another shade, or actually, go frontal with it and accept the shade and just see what's going on. Like,
Oh
he
my
knows
gosh.
there's something wrong. He has to know.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so here's the one problem. There's underestimating your opponent, like, oh, they're going to miss micro, and then there's truly underestimating your opponent, which is like, they don't have a third base, they're that bad, and then you just, like, continue playing the game. I really hope that's not the case for Drogo, but I was expecting a Spire. It's going to be a Hydralisk set. If it's 2-base Lurker, I'm going to lose my mind. I haven't seen that since Legacy of the Void beta, when people thought Lurkers were actually going to be, like, really good at all stages of the game. But that would be something cool and obviously surprising. I mean, that's really where the patch came in with that shade, having reduced vision. That would have seen the lair.
Yeah, but now that I think about it, like, how long have we played with those adepts that could see everything? It's like, going back to the Mothership Core day with, like, 9 vision, which was, like... I remember it on this map, actually. Like, Habitation Station, you would go over around the gold and you would see, like, the entire main of the Terran player with the Mothership Core. Like, what the hell, guys? What did you think about, like, when you created that unit? But, yeah, as you mentioned, the new adept with less vision didn't see the lair coming in, so... I'm guessing he still thinks that there's something wrong, but as you mentioned, he's playing a guy that he's never heard of. So he probably thinks, well, he might think that he's just bad and doesn't have a third base, and that doesn't make any sense. But the build itself is already super weird. Gonna go for super quick Hydralisk, but that's also a way of fending off those Prism attacks.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be surprisingly effective as long as the Archons don't get, like, amazing shots. I think there's too many Hydras. It would just push back the Warp Prism. As long as Drogo is paying attention and actually pulls it back, then, okay, he's going to be able to defend and react. But if he actually loses the Archons and the Warp Prism, that could be huge. When Mio Maika decides to, of course, attack after that, he's going to have the upgrades for the Hydras as well finishing up in just a second here. This is going to be just such a surprise for Drogo.
Drogo's like, where are your units? Like, why are those Zerglings so slow? And then the Prism, okay, he sees the Hydralisk, and
Oh my God,
he's gonna lose it!
Oh!
Amazing pickup by Mio Maika!
Okay.
I mean, how could you expect that there would be 12 or 15 Hydralisk with the range already?
With the range, exactly.
The range was out.
I don't think you would have expected that at all. So, of course, Drogo loses something very important. I mean, the Warp Prism not only helps pull the army back, but it also can help micro in this position, which he might really desperately need.
Zombie.
It's not that long of a map, and he's sending all the
Mothership
Hydras.
Core, if he loses
Oh
the
my
Mothership
God!
Core, he loses the game! That's a full energy Mothership Core! Drogo is messing up super bad on this one!
my
and Mio
gosh.
Maika could get this game! There's a lot of Hydralisk going ham right there on that Immortal, not gonna get it with the shields coming up. Those force fields are key, but he doesn't have any energy left.
Yeah, that's it for the sentries, exactly. And Drogo does not have a lot of gas behind that. Maybe they can work with one more, and that could help. Of course, still breaking a 2-base Protoss, even without Force Fields, still got to go up that ramp, and against those gateways, it can be difficult for these glass cannons that are Hydras. A DT did into that natural, was rallied all the way across, and there was nothing left at home. Not even a couple of Spore Crawlers, so the Queen couldn't even try targeting it. And that's a lot of not just like drone losses, which he desperately needs, as many drones as he has, but also it pulls the army entirely back.
Yeah, super great play out of Drogo right there, getting 2 Zerglings, 9 drones, and there's still no detection. I think he can't believe it, because he actually went back, was like, no, there's no way there's not a Spore in your main. And yet, there is not. And 12 drones, 13, 14, and it keeps rising. What is he doing? Where is the Overseer?
Don't go attack, like he has the Overseers with his army. What are you doing?
What is going on?
What is happening?
Oh my god.
He lost like 11 more drones easily because he just stayed in his main base doing nothing. Oh no.
That income advantage is super gross. And Mio Maika going out with the weirdest build ever, actually making it work and getting a solid advantage for himself, but now just gave it away because he buffed a little bit. I don't know what to do.
1 DT, that's your reinforcements and a Queen and a Spore Crawler, of course. Like that can actually take care of it, but pulling the entire army back, getting more than 20 drones, that was not supposed to happen. And Mio Maika basically has one more opportunity to just do a Hydra bust. Maybe it can work with a good concave, as Hydras are still fairly good, but they don't even have that much buffer. That's like, it's not even speedlings right here, just regular lings.
There's
no roaches,
nothing
of course.
to defend with. Like those 22-year depths, they have resonating left, right?
Yes, they do. They finished.
Okay, I didn't see it. Go through. But obviously, when you're making 23-year depths, I think you've got the upgrades for them. That's a good investment in my book. The third Nexus is coming in, but not building that many drones. Like still 26. Okay, you've got a gold, mate, but your income is just like gross at the moment. Like,
yeah, it's garbage. The Adepts should just be key. I mean, the Adepts, as long as they actually get on top of those Hydras, are fantastic, and I think that the numbers are there as well to actually do it. It looks pretty dangerous to see that many Hydras. You might start like double thinking yourself, but
is he canceling in the main? No, he's actually gonna
go
split
for
those. There's not that many drones to be killed in the main, and in the third base he's gonna get those drones. But in the main, like I think it would have been better that he fought against those Hydralists, like traded those this army.
I'm a little bit scared that if he loses all the Adepts attacking the drones, like sure, there will be no follow-up from Mio Maika, but he also might not have enough Adepts on the defense should the Hydras clean this up fast enough, but they're really not cleaning up that fast. Finally getting on top of the Adept, only a couple shade out. This is the time that Mio Maika has to go. Like, this is the only opportunity he's going to have to win. No more droning. That's not going to happen. Just send them all to the gold base and try and win right now.
Can we take a look at the number of Hydralisks to be precise on this one? 27 Hydralisks and 26 Zerglings. That's the only thing he has. He's still losing drones because those 4 Adepts went back on the aggression, but 5 Immortals, Sentries with Guardian Shield and Force Belt. This is not happening. Drogo had a little bit of a scare, but that's GG right there. And second point in favor of Drogo and France against Vietnam.
Yeah, what an odd build. I don't think I've seen 2-base Hydralisk since like a cast Penguin. He went 2-base Mutant, he went 2-base Hydralisk. So that was a surprise that almost worked. I mean, sniping the mothership core and I mean, just the 1DT was like really the problem. Because I think Drogo might still hold. He had gateways on the way, he had Resonant Glaives on the way, and he had that defender's advantage just in general.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been closer than if that DT had just not pulled the entire army back.
Obviously, he couldn't even take his chance, take the opportunity to put some pressure on Drogo because of that single DT, and the way he handled it obviously wasn't the right way, because losing 21 drones to 1 DT that just, circumvent the entire army, that's way more than anticipated. The last player for Vietnam is Justice Simon, who's going to be the Protoss player, so it's going to be a PvP game between him and Drogo, but that's going to be just after the break. So for Game 3 of France versus Vietnam, just stay tuned. We'll be there. All right, welcome back to Nation Wars, and welcome back to France versus Vietnam. At the moment, the Baguettes are leading 2-0, even though that second game for Drogo looked a little bit scary for a moment.
It looked scary when the Mothership Core went down to those Hydras, but DT's pretty good, I guess.
DT great unit.
Great unit. In general, yes. But now we're going to go into a PvP So I'm guessing that's going to happen is some early aggression is going to find some weaknesses in our player for Vietnam. At least, again, guessing. We really have no idea. We could have another attack situation. Maybe they were saving their best for last. And he's actually like super good at PvP specifically. But that was definitely one of the problems, I guess, when you go up against France. Again, like all of the players are very good, and you also have different types of. You have all three races, Zerg, Protoss, and Terran. So you can't actually like just super prep for one race or one player.
Yeah, I think every year there's been that issue with, well, not issue, but there was that thing about some countries where you. The French audience, which are the guys that voted the most, obviously, because we produced this event in France, and obviously we talked to our community quite a bit, and they all want that Terran, Zerg, and Protoss lineup, and that's something that happened to France quite a bit, and that's something that I would anticipate to happen to a lot of countries. I think there was at some point some questions about the voting patterns on some players, especially for UK, and the reason was simple enough because we looked at those numbers and all the voting patterns. It's just like people don't know who these guys are, and they look at the races and like, I'm gonna pick one Terran, one Zerg, and one Protoss, and because Clad the Lad is not here, we can't vote for him for sure, because like if you don't have anything that connects you to some player in particular, you're gonna just vote for what you want to see happening, and probably having one of each race is something that you would like to know.
I'm not gonna lie. For South Korea, I tried doing that. I voted for I think like Dark, or Stu or something like that to have a Zerg. But for all the other teams that I had no idea about, I just voted for who was already in the lead. Not gonna lie. I did not. I think that would have been a better choice though, to try and get an even team. I totally messed up.
No, but that's also a pretty nice way of seeing it. Like, you know, the factual the factual way of seeing. Say, okay, this is the best player. I've seen him on Ali Gulak. He tells me that it's the best player from Croatia, so I'm gonna vote for him. You know, that's good. I don't think a lot of people did that. So kudos to you, I think. So third game is actually starting right now, and as we mentioned, it's gonna be a PvP between this guy, and apparently he's not here to stop. He wants to all kill for France in the blue as Protoss. This is Drogo, Le Petit Drogo.
And his opponent in the bottom right as the red Protoss, he is Justice Simon.
That's such a weird name for a Vietnamese guy.
Right? Like, none of these names are what I expected from a Vietnamese player, but I don't know. I think Hunter XX just likes the manga. I think that's a comic book, so I don't know about Justice Simon.
Isn't it like Hunter X Hunter?
That's what it is. Yeah, exactly.
But I thought of that because I think Hunter X Hunter is actually a little bit too long for Starcraft 2 to handle. So Hunter XX works perfectly fine, and Justice Simon is gonna be the next Vietnamese player. Double gateway on both sides, but already the second gateway a little bit later than Drogo's ones. Like, not that it's not gonna make that much of a difference, but you can still talk about it because this is the earliest state of the game, and there's nothing to be differentiating player with. But yeah, the opening build is a little bit slower from a Vietnamese player, and that could work in Drogo's favor if that keeps on going. If every building is a little bit slower, that's also a way of winning at StarCraft, you know?
Yeah, something like 10 seconds, 15 seconds behind on the 7X core can actually be sometimes a big deal. I mean, usually they're so mirrored in the early game that those early stalker like attacks or the adepts running past don't actually add up to that much. But sometimes, especially if the player has messed up their build a little bit, it can. So I think Drogo's going to try and poke a little bit forward here. Actually get stalkers, which, I mean, the chance, I don't think they've scouted each other, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's actually the probe right now in there.
Yeah,
that's the probe in their area. Okay. So I was going to say, like, as long as you get the scouting in there, I don't anticipate them going for, like, for instance, like that one base Stargate that you see a lot of times in PvP. I think you can poke forward with the Stalkers. If you're at all worried, though, that they're going to do something like this, actually hide something, potentially hide something, then maybe play a little bit back. And that is, of course, a worry about players you don't know. They could be the cheesiest person in the world.
Exactly. And you need to take all those facts into account. Like, they can be the cheesiest guy you've ever seen, so you want to be extra safe, extra cautious, and not getting taken advantage of because of those strategies. And obviously, Drogo doesn't know Justice Simon plays, so he needs to take that, take that into consideration. Probably go the extra mile with scouting.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he sent his stalkers every which way. I think his probe even scouted a little bit too. He's trying to scout nearby for what I'm guessing is going to be actually a proxy robo that would be actually put close to you.
Exactly.
The Stargate can kind of be put anywhere, like at least it's closer than your base. A Twilight Council, though, Twilight and Dark Shrine, literally anywhere. It could be put like in the bottom left of the map, or in this case, the top right. And just your chances of scouting it on such a big map like Echo are pretty low. But if you're playing safe, you have Stalkers in the mineral line, if you have the Mothership Core in the mineral line, then you shouldn't take any damage.
Exactly. They're scouting, but there's also like just taking it into account, knowing the timings, and be prepared.
Yeah,
whatever comes your way.
And getting a robo. Like, the robo is probably the safest facility to get.
I don't feel so
as a
good.
Protoss player.
I feel a little bit pressured. Yeah, drop down the robo, man.
Yeah.
You never know.
Kind of, yeah.
So DT and Blink at the same time. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
That's
I don't know.
somehow different.
I mean, he's also expanding. So, I mean, once upon a time, a Dark Shrine, especially on one base, was actually just if you didn't do damage, you were just simply out of the game. Of course, they reduced the cost of the Dark Shrine a long time ago, something like 2 years ago.
I hated that day, to be honest.
Right, because of course that day, their intention was for later game Dark Templars, and of course that day and that week and that month, everyone just like, Dark Templar rushed. But it's become more of a macro option. Of course, hiding it increases the chance that it's going to be killed later on, but sometimes you even just have it in the main base. But yeah, the Dark Shrine, you warp in, say, only 1 DT even, try and get something done, hope the observer is out of position, and sometimes it's worth, especially because you can constantly warp in 1 DT and just constantly keep them back. But the Stalker follow-up makes sense, getting the Blink, getting a potential macro game beyond this.
Okay, so I think we're seeing a hallucinated Phoenix crossing the map at the moment. Yeah, that's okay. So he's gonna be able to figure out probably that there's something missing. And those stalkers, he can see the real, he can see the slight distortion on the map because of those DTs, but he's not realizing it yet.
He should have seen them definitely move.
Yeah.
I'd say he's like, well, there's a pylon there.
Yeah.
Does he have an observer?
Yeah, the observer came back, so he knows.
Okay.
And he's gonna be able to force field them out. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's 2 dead DTs for literally nothing.
And the pylon's gone, and technically Drogo could go searching for the hidden Dark Shrine, and that would be worthwhile. That would definitely be worth killing, but I don't think he's going to. That's terrible. I mean, if you can save the DTs at least and not do any damage, then maybe they come back later, maybe they cancel the third base, maybe they take a few swipes at the attacking units should they try and attack you, but just getting them killed, that is still a bad opener. Even though you're trying to have a decent macro game too, it's not great for Justice Simon.
Yep, and Drogo not going to go the aggressive way, rather going to drop down a third Nexus and just wait for his moment to pounce on his opponent, considering how much he invested for that DT tech earlier on, and that DT tech, as you see, didn't accomplish anything. Like, he lost literally 50 energy on 2 sentries. That's the only thing he lost right there. Even took out the proxy pylon, so it's adding up. And as we can see in the supply count, 81 supply against 62. So already rather of a bad position for Justice Simon, who's gonna try to go again around the aggressive path with a lot of more Blink Stalkers and a proxy pylon.
Yep. I mean, if the DTs are doing damage or keeping the opponent off guard, the follow-up, the immediate follow-up Blink Stalker all in, it can look really powerful, like a 1-2 punch, but this is just going to look kind of lame, to be honest. Even with Blink, well, of course, Drogo already has his own Blinks, and he's shown that too. That was the one thing Justice Simon was hoping that he would have, but there's nothing here you can actually make work.
Yeah.
He can't even blink in the main base. He doesn't even have Preserver.
Yeah, it's 46 supply against 30 with a better army, better sentry count. Like, actually, Drogo a little bit out of position, but no, this is not looking well at all. That Stalker, that's a Warping Stalker, is actually going to get taken out. That probe is also dead. Guardian Shield has been used at the expense by those sentries, but he has so many of them that the next fight he will have another Guardian Shield. He's going to have a lot of force field. I like that move. Justice Simon knows that he's going to be attacked very soon, so going to try to counterattack with 1 DT. Is there an observer around? I don't think there is, and no cannons either. The other one is between the main and natural, so that's something for Drogo. Should be able to realize fast.
Okay, so he's going to try and get the army out of position, but it was already technically out of position. It was right in front of his face, so he had to retreat back to his ramp. That DT might be able to get even like 5, 10 probe kills if it's really good, if Drogo's really not paying attention. He only pulls him to a mineral line, away from the Photon Overcharge, by the way. So
don't go here. Just follow us.
Yeah, that didn't... he could even save it further if he was paying attention, but he's too worried about that army in the front of his base.
And actually, I think he is right to be afraid because that's way too many units. And considering like Drogo doesn't even need to attack, he's gonna shade in those adepts and actually bring all those Blink Stalkers to the main, so that leaves the natural way open, way exposed, and those immortal Stalkers and Sentries are not taking any prisoners. Everything is dying from Justice Simon. He goes with the Blink Stalker on the low ground, but is it gonna make a difference? I don't think it will.
No, doesn't look like it. I mean, Justice Simon really took the bait with those adepts to be out of position to not cover his potent overcharged pylons. Even then, I don't think it would have been big enough of a difference, as Drogo just had a very good army with those immortals. He's actually letting a couple of his units attack structures right now, which is why the armor supplies aren't quite dominating, but still has the Warp Prism, so a couple reinforcements and that'll still be it.
And Drogo will probably take, no fake hype, will take that third game. And this is not going well at all for Vietnam, and not a single player, even though like the strategy that was used in PvZ in the previous game was kind of cute, I don't think any player got so close of taking out the Drogo. Justice Simon is actually going to hang on in this game until he has no fighting units left. GG, well played is called, and France now leads 3-0, one game away from making it into the round of 16.
Yep, and I have a feeling that it will be a 4-0. As you said, just not really enough close games to be like, well, if they did something differently. Because, of course, who was it? It was Mio Micah. If he does the Hydra build again, I think, well, first of all, Drogo did defend it one time, so he can probably do it again. But also, I think he's going to be a little more top of scouting and really know that it's on the way.
Yeah, probably not lose that prism,
Yeah, exactly. Not lose the Warp Prism, not lose the Mothership Core. So I don't know, like that's like, once you've shown that you're willing to do a couple of cheesy tricks, they're going to be scouting for it since then. So
that's also a little sad. Like when you consider that build, you're like, I think everything went according to plan. When you think about what this build is good at, like you can fight off those prisms.
Yeah.
He actually didn't just pushed it away. He actually got the prism with the 2 Archons inside of him, then actually took out a full energy Mothership Core. And in the end, the DT made a huge difference for Drogo to be fine in this game. But also in terms of attacking, I don't think that Mio Micah would have been able to actually cross the ramp. Like that would have been too much with the force field and the Immortal. I was about to say Photon Overcharge, but no Photon Overcharge, obviously, because losing the Mothership Core. But it doesn't seem like a great build.
It's one that I think has to do those first 2 things, kill the Warp Prism and the Archons and the Mothership Core. So I guess first 3 things. Mm-hmm. I think it also has to catch a Protoss who's trying to expand behind it too.
Yeah.
Because that's usually the case if you are playing the expand style. Drogo actually got gateways before his expansion though, so he didn't have to worry about being out on the map. He had production in case things did get too scary. So the follow-up I don't think was also not something that Mio Micah wanted. So again, like that's just not something you're going to be able to do again. I don't know who they sent out.
So yeah, they will revive Mio Micah, which was the player. Who was the player? Actually gave the hardest time to Drogo, but still, like there was a lot of difference between those 2 guys, and with everything going the right way for Mio Micah, the game was still super hard to control for him and actually get the win in the end. So we'll see in a couple of moments if he can take that back and maybe give a little bit more hope to Vietnam. Tringle 92, what the F? Mio Micah, did you fall asleep? I know it's 2:30, but what the F? Yeah, that DT, you can ask yourself, like, what happened?
He was obviously not asleep because he was still moving the army just in the wrong place.
Yeah.
It was actually super weird, like his keyboard stopped working or something.
Mm-hmm. Overgrowth will be the 4th map, and once again, I would like to go in details. No, it's not going to be Overgrowth. It's going to be Daybreak. We already played Overgrowth.
Yeah, against Hunter XX.
I was like, maybe we've seen that before. But what I was about to say is that I would like to go in details, and we will be able to do so when we will have like closer games, I guess. Because that matchup, as I mentioned, I don't think those the maps are gonna affect anything.
Daybreak especially. Like again, Whirlwind. I was gonna say Whirlwind. Maybe you do an early pull cheese, but that's the only map I can think of.
Yeah, the four position could come into play. Will we see Whirlwind? Well, for that, they would have to lose. That guy in the top right, representing France, is the Blue Ploros. His name is Petit Drogo.
In the bottom left is Vietnam's last hope. He's the red Zerg, Mio Micah.
Going for pull first and the gas.
Okay.
Definitely switching things up here.
Yeah, he did go for the hatchery first last game. It's something that Drogo's going to scout, of course, very aware that it's the last chance. Maybe a real aggressive cheese could even come out, like an early pull, but those are few and far in between. But something like Speedling Opener can actually, it defends pretty well, of course, against any early aggression, like, double gateway or something like that, but it also can provide a lot of aggression for the Zerg, a lot of control. It gives up the economy a little bit, but really good Zergs just figure that they can make it up. That they'll take enough control, maybe delay the third base a little bit, so that it'll be worthwhile, basically.
Okay, those 6 Zerglings, I think he actually builds 2 more, so that should be about 8 Zerglings. No, it's gonna be 6 actually. So 6 Zerglings to open things with, as Mio Maika gonna try to, okay, GLHF. That's
the latest.
That was a late GLHF, but that's okay. Like we keep on being civilized here. So those Zerglings have an opportunity to deal some damage to that Cybernetics core. Even probably the pylon. It's gonna be the first target of choice. No, actually, just keeping everything and going towards the main. But the Adept is gonna be here like in a few seconds. I'm not sure that's the right call here.
I guess thinking on it, the Adept probably would have been out in time. You knew you were scouted, of course, and the Chrono was going to go on that, so he just figured not going for the Pylon would have been worth it. I mean, you kill the Pylon, maybe you don't get all killed by the Adept. I think it might still be worth, as of course no probes have gone down, but more importantly than these first initial 6 lings is that Mio Maika really is just going for the true all-in here. No more drone. He got the loot chamber really early, so he's getting a drop Overlord. He's going to try and just get Drogo out of position once, and then let Speedlings collapse in on the very limited army he has. Daybreak has this giant wall, and it's not going to be walled off anytime soon. That's going to be an easy path in.
Yeah, and Drogo has no way of seeing this happening. Okay, he's actually gonna drop down another gateway, but it's building right now. It doesn't have all the HP that it needs to stay alive against a lot of Zerglings, and there's gonna be a huge surface for the Zerglings to attack that gateway, and I think that's gonna be the first target of choice. Photon Overcharge is actually gonna do super well there, getting a lot of Zerglings, but at the same time, the drop in the main, 8 Zerglings, getting a little bit of work done on those probes, but he will need way more than 2 probes, that's for sure.
It looks like he's going to try and elevator all the links into the main base, which isn't a bad idea at all. The Mothership Core doesn't have that much energy, and there's only 1 pylon on the main anyway. That could be surrounded and sniped if all of the links went up to the main. I think the natural at this point is defended. It's also walled off with a lot of pylons, so there's no easy access into there.
Yeah, I don't see it happening though. Like he's trying super hard, but only with 1 Overlord, with no Overlord speed either. Oh, actually, this is open. That's an opportunity for our Vietnamese player to actually get 1 point on the board. The probes have to fight, but they can fight because, as we mentioned, 34 probes against 16 drones. He needs to deal more damage than this. Okay, this is starting to work a little bit in the main, but Drogo's micro at the moment is not falling. He's still microing those units pretty well, and those Zerglings, they're getting taken out by those 2 Adepts quite easily.
Yeah, and this is a problem. Even though Mio Maika is getting +1, and that sounds great, Drogo's also getting his production up and running. There's been no depowering of the gateways as of yet, and only 8 probes is still not enough to really cripple his economy. He's going to outproduce Mio Maika unless something truly terrible happens.
Yeah, like a disconnect.
GG.
Drogo gets the all kill for France against Vietnam, and that's already 3 all kills, I feel. Like, I need to figure out all the numbers because I haven't been watching the B stream, but maybe 4 if you count like reverse all kill, considering Raynor did. Earlier, we've seen the all kill from Ukraine against Russia. I mean, the qualifiers, I guess, a bit of all kill is kind of expected, considering the difference between the teams because of the way the seeding is done. Basically, best countries with a lot of players with WCS points would get high seed against like no WCS points at all, which ultimately says that you've got better players, they've got worse players. This is a 4-0 to start things off. We like the all kills here in France and in the Gaming Studio. It brings back memories of Nation Wars 3. And this time, the new player, Drogo, gets the all kill, must feel satisfied.
Yep, I think that's what he expected, and that is what he's hoping for. And of course, it was just, it was a little easy, but I mean, kudos to Vietnam for actually getting that team together. That's really cool that they actually banded together. Some guy was really passionate about getting them the Nation Wars, and they were actually able to show up and at least show some of their skill. Getting all killed, unfortunately, but I really appreciate the fact that they showed up.
No, great job by Vietnam. Like in the end, I'd say like the result don't even matter. Like the fact that they are part of the competition, they've been streamed, they were on mainstream here,
Yeah.
and they got some exposure and showed that they were willing to go the extra mile to get that team going on, and really putting like a lot of effort in terms of national community. That's what Nation Wars is all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Really happy with.
They probably had like some of the funnest like days, like weeks if they were practicing together too. Like actually having a goal for something.
Yeah.
Makes StarCraft 2 a lot more fun to play. And this is probably one of the only opportunities they have. I don't know about any other tournaments Vietnamese players have participated in, or any like local lands or anything like that. So it's super cool.
Yeah. Super cool, but at the same time, they have to go. The first game of their Nation Wars career was against France, and it was sadly a 4-0. People enjoying Nation War throughout the world use the hashtag NW4, with the setup with the candlelight, drawing and tea, excitedly awaiting UK versus USA, and that's just a great way of setting up our next game, our next best of 7, which will be the last one of the day because this has been a really long day.
Oh, yeah.
But we hope that you guys enjoyed the broadcast. So this is not over. Just get on Twitter. Do you think USA is gonna win? USA win or Great Britain? So I guess UK GBR win. Get on Twitter. Get those hashtag goings. We will be looking at them a little bit later. Really close series, I feel. It could be close. Like Neeb would be the ultimate carry for USA, and maybe more well-rounded team for UK, with probably the Muslim as the best one in their ranks.
Yeah, definitely the Muslims the best one. I anticipate something like a 4-1 because I think. Well, actually, I would say a 4-0. I think Neeb's not going to lose, but if he does, then he'd have to be revived. So maybe a 4-3, like super different results.
You don't have you don't trust in Puck? Like, we're not going to mention Netanius. Like,
no,
Netanius is hype. Netanius has some skills, but if he has to go in a TVT matchup, he will probably want to kill himself. But other than that, there's still Puck in
there is
the
still
American
Puck.
team, right?
So I guess that is unfortunately kind of Puck's career. Like I actually really we hung out. Like I love Puck. I think he's actually a really good player, but unfortunately just never been at that point where just like, well, yeah, there's also Puck. Like he could definitely all kill too. I think Puck can take down to Muslim on a good day, but I just do not know his showing right now, like his form right now. And I also know that he's had some trouble actually like just showing up basically for the important events. So I think Montreal was his last big tournament, I want to say, and unfortunately he just got knocked out in kind of a bad fashion by
Scarlet. He had some great showings this year. I think in China, he made it to the round of 4 a little bit earlier in the year. But definitely a cool matchup coming in. USA versus the United Kingdom, and it's going to be after the break, so don't go anywhere.